We have entered a cataclysmic era. What can sustain us in the times to come before the lesson is learned and the long-sought-for millennium begins? Visions of the Millennium is a comprehensive interview program where experts discuss some of the possibilities and alternatives open to us as a race.
Welcome to Visions of the Millennium, which is brought to you by the Foundation Church, which is at 99 Gloucester Street here in Toronto. I'd like to invite everybody to the Foundation, which has a very nice coffee house called Jay's Place, which is open every day from Monday to Saturday at 6 o'clock on, and to the many different activities that we have there. One called The Focus, which is on communication, contact, to free movies on Wednesday night, to discussions by many, many famous people around the city, to the psychic scene, which is on Friday, which is on telepathy, clairvoyance, and mainly to our main religious service, which is on Saturday at 8 o'clock. And everybody is welcome, and every activity is at 8 o'clock. And today our guests are Michael Reed and Philippa Lee from the Mind Institute. And Michael, who is a friend of mine, and Philippa is a friend of mine too for a while now, is what I guess you would call just plain deep trance.
I think that's about the best description of it, Blaise, in that that's just a handle to put on it, because we aren't fully knowledgeable of what it is, but we're working with it, and I guess that's about the best description. It's called deep trance.
Yeah, I've had a reading done on me a while ago, and I found it really quite amazing. Quite amazing, because at that time we had met once, maybe twice, something like that.
I think we met once. Yeah, we had met once.
And knew nothing, absolutely nothing about me, any kind of background, and it was like me telling my life story in many cases, you know, which was exciting, a little frightening. I was trying to figure out where you got your information, because you'd reminded me of some things that I'd forgot about. Could you give us how you got into it?
Well, I began being interested in psychic phenomena quite a few years ago, but I always used to think that there was a group of people that did it, and I was one of the observer groups. Got interested in various facets. I think it's interesting to point out that in Edgar Cayce's work, he himself said anyone can do it. And if he says anyone, or everybody can do it, he didn't say everybody except Michael. Or Blaise, or Philippa. And so this is what, been interested in that aspect of it, but I never thought that, first of all, I had any ability in that area. So when I became interested in a phenomenon called Kirlian photography, I contacted Ken Dixon at the Mind Institute. And
what Kirlian photography?
Kirlian photography. This is photographing fingertips with a radio frequency signal.
Right.
It leaves an impression on the film. I talked to Ken Dixon and said, could I use his unit, because I'd heard that he'd had a small Kirlian unit. And he said, yes, come down, which I did. And he said, well, I'd like to establish a small radio frequency lab in the building, which I did. Then I got interested in the courses that they were teaching.
This is at the Mind Institute? At the
Mind Institute. Took the course. Then found out that I could, as did everyone in the group that I was with, that clairvoyance is a natural ability that we all have. And in most people it's sporadic.
Yeah.
But the Mind Institute course sort of brings it out. Well, having proved that to myself, that I could do that, I thought possibly, maybe not, I don't know. Then things seemed to happen in rather a strange sequence. I was teaching one day, because that's the stage I moved into. It was teaching mind development. And I fell asleep, because it had been a long day, a long second day. And somebody on the telephone asked a question of another person on the other end of the line. And I, asleep, answered it. And I awoke to find people sitting around there scribbling on little pieces of paper what I'd been saying. That sounds weird enough in itself. We found out that it can be controlled to to a certain extent, it can be controlled, and it can be done almost on command.
Mm-hmm.
So we're in the early stages now, and what I mean early is that Philip and I are investigating this as what can be done with it. I think Phil could tell you more about what can be done with it, because what happens, from my point, is that I will sit back in a chair,
Mm-hmm.
close my eyes, listen to Phil give a descending countdown, 10 to 1.
Right.
And around about the 8, 7, 6 mark, I'll just sort of close my eyes, and that'll be it. And the next thing I know, it's morning. The next thing I know, people start looking at me and saying, that was very interesting that you said, and I don't remember saying it.
You remember anything?
Sporadically, flashes of a dream, and that's about
Mm-hmm.
it. That's about it. Maybe 1 or 2 words sometimes, but if that will be extremely changed.
Does your spirit or something leave your body, or?
I don't think so.
Well, who is it? Do you think what is your unconscious or something like that that answers these questions? What is it you feel answers these questions?
We've asked the question, and the answer has been that it's a universal consciousness
Universal consciousness.
that we're contacting. And Michael's own conscious and subconscious are in a sleep state and not interfering with the communication.
Uh-huh.
In fact, that's the best communication is where the least possible amount of the subconscious and the conscious interferes with.
So in a sense, you're opening yourself up to a channel.
I think the best description was given about very much like pulling the trigger on a gun. A very small force is needed to actuate a much stronger force.
Right.
And we call it channel. I mean, we're working with words to try and describe concepts of which we have not cognizant ourselves. So we're finding there's a lot of good coming out of it, and I think that's the one of the things that's driving us forward on it.
A lot of good advice.
A lot of good advice too.
Yeah, I could say in my experience of it that it told me many things that I wanted to hear. A number of things I didn't want to hear. This is the part that proved it to me, that you weren't kidding, or whatever it wasn't kidding. We're going to later on in the show, we're going to have Michael go into a deep trance, and it's going to be at a stage now where pretty soon you'll see Michael, and he'll be in a trance, and we have questions that I have questions actually that I'm going to ask him that he hasn't seen, and he doesn't know, it's not preset or anything like that, and there's a whole set of things like he'll be laying down, there's a countdown, and he needs an amount of time to, in a sense, go into this trance, and that's why you won't be seeing it right now. But the answers should be revealing, I hope, in many ways. I find it just strange.
Yeah, it is. This is the way we've been looking at it. Well, I've gone through, since this happened, I've reread all the Casey books that I've read, and there's quite a few of them. There Is a River by Thomas Segru, Edgar Casey, The Sleeping Prophet by Jess Stern, etc., etc. And the feeling I had when I was reading those books was that, unfortunately, Mr. Casey is dead.
Yeah.
And we're not able to do what we could do. And then, of course, when this phenomenon came along and we started doing it, then we're beginning to get an awful lot of answers ourselves. It's demonstrated it can be done, and so what do we do with it? I think that's the most important thing. What do we do with it?
That's good. I think we should actually do it now. We're going to be a little cut here, ladies and gentlemen, and when we come back on, Michael's going to be asleep, and we're going to be asking him some questions. So just imagine that we're going to be putting him in a trance in a little bit. So I think we're prepared now.
Oh, man.
Who's located at 49 Coldwater Road in Don Mills, and notify me when you have located him.
found this one before.
Right. Brother Blaze has some questions for you.
My first question, Michael, is how will the Messiah manifest himself in the world, and when?
You are expecting the Messiah to appear as a person, and you will find that that would be inaccurate at this particular time. The Messiah will come when the conditions are right for the Messiah to be here. For it is as if he could not appear in a vacuum where he would not be of effect. In that, there must be conditions made so that the Messiah can be here.
What? Can I go on?
Go ahead.
What sort of conditions?
Are the hungry fed? Are those without clothes clothed?
Interesting.
Is this the work that we are here to do in accomplishing this task so that the Messiah can come?
The work that you are here to do, as are all that are here to do, is to learn. The coming of the Messiah, should you see the Messiah as a physical entity that is to be here at a particular time, is that the changes must come about that the Messiah be here at a time. But we propose a question for you. What in your minds makes you so sure that the Messiah has not been here again?
Has the Messiah been here?
There have been indications, continual indications. Whenever there is someone that does put themselves towards an end that others do benefit by, you would find that the Messiah is there, is perceived, is accepted, and is used.
But not in a physical form.
Not in a physical form.
Will the Messiah come at all in a physical form?
The Messiah will come in a physical form at the time when conditions are right for the Messiah to come, which can be hastened or can be slowed, depending on the world around that the Messiah will come into.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Well, what events, what happenings can we look forward to before, excuse me, before the advent of the Messiah?
Change, continual change.
What kind of change?
A continual spreading of knowledge, understanding, physical change, growth, and a lack of indifference.
Indifference?
Indifference. When there is a lack of indifference, you'll find that love will fall into that vacuum created. And once that is done, then there is a chance for the Messiah to return, to be, and to instruct beyond even that point.
What, in indifference towards God? Is that what you're talking about?
Since man is a manifestation of God, then man indifferent to man is man indifferent to God.
Mm. Do you see those signs now?
There are some signs, not many.
What of all the wars, though? Would that not be indifferent?
As we did say, they do not see many.
Could you expand more on the Messiah, on what we can look for him? Saying he's a him.
Or how perhaps we can hasten his coming.
Yes.
Hasten his coming by changing. By changing the fact of indifference, and indifference is a fact. It is there, it can be seen. As can the opposite of indifference. Love can be seen. And what is love? Love is an emotion expressed.
In the various scriptures, they tell of many wars and disasters that will come before the Messiah is to come. Do you think those will happen?
They will. As long as the indifference to another person extends to the fact that you are indifferent to his life, then you will have war, and more war.
Can you perhaps give us a timetable of when to expect this, if it is to be expected?
Expected? It will not ever come about should you not expect it.
Mm. Okay.
In the years towards the end of the century, there will be several cataclysmic changes in the structure of the globe, and you will find that this time there is a choice for things to be done. For should it be decided that a person is not another person's keeper, then you will find just change for the sake of change.
Will this change be a natural disaster, such as earthquakes, or will it be man-made, such as war?
Both.
Both?
Both.
And this is to the end of the century?
And the beginning of the next.
Beginning of the next century. What vision can you give us of the millennium to come, as was always was prophesied in all Scripture?
The problem with any description is describing an object someone has never seen before. The best description of a millennium is a coming of states of changes in a resultant that would seem in many ways preferable to this situation as it stands at this time. There will be more changes, and some of them will not be to your liking as you see them from this time.
Could you describe a change?
The greatest change will be naturally the change in the concept of indifference and realization what indifference does cause. For indifference in one person's mind is transmitted and is sent and is received, and it does affect another. That is the effect of indifference.
I mean, on a wholly, it's a state of mind that...
Affecting the physical state.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. And as for the spiritual state in the millennium, what?
As it is now. For the millennium, should you desire to call it a millennium, it will be a continuing thing. Continuing. Will not be on one side of the line one thing, one side of the line another thing. But it will be a gradual process that is brought about by change.
So you feel indifference towards man, by man, is the biggest thing right now that is destroying us?
It will not destroy.
It will not destroy.
It will not destroy.
Could you expand on that more?
It is not within any plan that an organism or a system be set up that it destroy itself.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that would negate learning completely.
Mm-hmm. You were going to ask something, Phil?
You said instead that indifference would delay the coming of the Messiah as opposed to destroying men. Is that what you meant?
It hinges on even that simple fact of indifference, of understanding what indifference is. Indifference is a lack of emotion. It is a lack of feeling. It is a lack of concern. And the question begging answer at this time is, am I my brother's keeper?
Very true. Do you feel that man holds the key to when the Messiah will come? That he will come when man is ready?
The Messiah will come not necessarily as a physical form.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this day, this time, should you wish it, yourself, within thyself, can be contact with the Messiah. For you are in God's image, therefore God is with you. And the Messiah is of God. But man will prevent the Messiah from coming.
Man will prevent the Messiah from coming? Is that what you just said?
That what was said. The Messiah will not come, for man will stop him coming. Should man work at that?
So if men were to
decide
and invite him into themselves personally, then they would lose this indifference, and then the Messiah could come in a physical sense.
In that general concept, yes.
So
first self, then others. Understanding fully the fact that it takes much to build, very little needed to destroy.
And indifference tends then to be stronger than love.
Love is stronger than indifference. For with love there will be rebuilding. With indifference there will be no building in the first place.
Why do you feel man keeps himself indifferent to other men?
For he feels it is not his problem that the next one to him suffers, for it is not I that suffers. The realization that he suffers as much as the other suffers will cause changes.
So we can look forward to what would you say in the next 5 years?
What would you expect? That you would expect, you will find coming about.
I was looking more for man's attitude towards each other.
Read the newspapers, you'll find a clear answer there.
And do you feel this will continue?
If it is left to continue, will continue. But it is much better to light one candle then curse any darkness, as you well know.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you very much. Can you bring him? Yeah.
Okay. Shall we end the session now?
Should you wish.
Okay. Dear Lord, please protect this entity from all negative influences, regardless of source. Amen. Please remove all negative influences from this entity now.
Done.
Allow the body to become completely relaxed. Perform any healing which may be performed. Begin increasing the blood pressure to normal naturally. Begin increasing all other systems of the body that have been depressed to normal naturally now.
Done.
Thank you for our session, and au revoir.
As always, dear director, we do thank you. And God's blessings.
Thank you. I'd like the body to awaken, feeling completely refreshed and relaxed. Now.
Morning, Michael.
One way of phrasing it.
Do you remember anything you said now?
No. However, the sort of a feeling of impatience would be about the best description.
Impatience?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A lot of what you said, I think it expresses that, because we talked about impatience. Basically, we talked about indifference in people towards each other. I still find it amazing that you were out and now you're back. Yeah?
Well, it's sort of like I lost a few minutes somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
We did one thing. We asked a question about this, what happens, and I guess the best answer was that having decided to do it, I do it.
Ah.
And I guess that's about also if almost anybody trying something like anything really is decide. That's what we did. We decide to do it and then do it.
I got from your reading, from the questions, that it's left very much up to man when he wants the Messiah to come, in the sense that he very much had to change. You know, it's not so much a situation that the Messiah would come and then he'd say, okay, you come with me, you bye-bye. It's sort of a situation that humanity had to start working, had to start laying some kind of foundation for when the Messiah, be he physical, be he spiritual, comes, so that they can recognize him, so that they can, in a sense, know he is the Messiah. I'm speaking as he is a person, but that whole spirit come. And that's the feeling that I get.
Well, the thing is about that, I've always thought of a sort of a messianic age would be where everything were absolutely terrible, and then God had to come down to straighten it out.
That's usually the format that is usually laid out.
Yeah.
I think we have a half a minute. I'd like to thank you very, very much, Michael. And thank you, Philippa. And I hope you... Where am I? I hope you enjoyed the show.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. And I'll see you next week.
Visions of the Millennium is produced and directed by members of the Foundation Church in cooperation with the staff of Metro Cable TV, Channel 10, Toronto.